All right, welcome back to another Wright Stew podcast. I am Paul Stewart.
And I am Brian Wright still, and Paul gets to be in the speaker studio always, and hopefully we'll get back together soon, but I am in the office. Could be worse on Tuesday morning for sure.
Absolutely. And speaking of Speaker Studio, if you haven't checked out our merch, some really cool merch featuring Speaker Studio on it. So the links are in all the bios on our socials and on YouTube and anywhere you get our podcast. So check out that merch. But Brian, we've been talking a lot about the NFL.
Yeah.
We kind of recap the NFC, AFC championship games. And one thing we didn't really mention, and this is kind of a different kind of story, but I've had the kind of privilege to get to know Will Shipley a little bit over the past few years. I met him through some work I was doing with the Clemson football team when he was a freshman. I've kind of stayed in contact with him a little bit. But when I met him, just a super high character, high quality individual as an 18-year-old, was really, really impressed of who he was as a young man. And continued to see that. Scored his first touchdown, his first NFL touchdown in the NFC Championship game. Has been on special teams, caused a fumble, had a big kick return, also had a really big run. So was really happy to see, really excited for Will, and excited to see him as a rookie going now to the Super Bowl. So he was on Good Morning America yesterday.
Well,
did you see that?
I did not see that. I feel like the white skill guy is kind of having a comeback with the Eagles. Like you got the cornerback, we got a safety. I mean, the whites really, the Eagles and white skill guys feels like they've kind of cornered that market a little bit. And
well,
it's interesting.
To be fair, Will is the third string running back.
That's true, but on the NFL roster. I mean, there's probably not 5 on NFL rosters. You obviously got Christian who's been banged up. There's somebody else somewhere maybe that's a fullback / running back. There's not many. There's not many. And so I tell you what, it's interesting. He is third string and probably was drafted a little bit later. I wonder, and again, you've got to feel, obviously was impressed with him as a young man. I wonder, would you ever feel a sense of almost pouting if you're not getting a real chance to compete for the – I mean, he's played as a freshman at Clemson, very high-level football. Obviously, he probably played super early in high school on varsity. Yeah. And essentially, I mean, it's just really incredible with what he's been able to do. I'm sure he didn't play a ton of special teams in college. And
he
go in
there kicks as a freshman. Yeah, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Not on the kickoff team. Yeah.
Yeah, before we get there, so I pulled up a list, and this is the top 50 white wide receivers. Cooper Kupp's number 1, Adam Thielen. Then we got Hunter Renfrow. We got
to go running back though. I feel like that's a different animal.
Then we starts falling off pretty quick after that. Yeah, so not a whole lot in the NFL from that perspective. Let's see the best running backs according to this: Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Juszczyk from San Francisco.
Barely a running back, more fullback, tight end.
Alec Ingold, James.
I couldn't tell you what team he's on.
Yeah, the rest of these guys, I don't know. So
it's hard. But the Eagles got the white DB, like the first one since Jason Sehorn. I mean, it feels like. I mean, so anyway, they've got the market cornered there. Yeah. But back to Will, dude, clearly a good character guy. It would just be, I'm sure there's a little bit of humble pie anytime you go compete against guys like that. There's a balance where you got to be confident enough that, hey, in your abilities, but also be humble enough to do whatever responsibility you get given to you. And he has clearly got really good character, character.
So on the interview with Good Morning America, he talked about how much Saquon Barkley has kind of taken him under his wing. And so really Saquon Barkley came running on the field to celebrate with him. And I think you saw guys on the team really, it seemed like genuinely were really excited and happy for Shipley to score that touchdown, which was really, really cool. And then Will, again, on Good Morning America, very humble, talked about the kind of his maturation process, the learning curve, everything he's had to do, kind of to pay his dues a little bit.
Yeah.
But then also, just to learn, literally from one of the best of all time and how much of an influence Saquon's been in the locker room. And so that's some of the things that we've been talking about, how Saquon seems like just such a selfless player, such a team.
Well, yeah.
And then to hear those comments were And from a guy that I know kind of personally, I was like, wow, that kind of speaks volumes. So,
and it kind of reinforces what the perception that Saquon has. You heard him not go for the record, not go for the yards when they were playing against the Giants. I mean, there's been a number of times that he could have been about self and nobody would have blamed him whatsoever. And kind of I wanted him to, and he chose to do what was best. And it's kind of refreshing, dude, because we're such in a culture of look at me, look at me, look at me. It's refreshing to have a guy that says, look at what I'm doing when I'm playing my sport. I ain't got to tell you how good I am. You can see how good I am.
yeah.
And that's kind of the way I always want to be as a player. It's like, hey, I don't need to talk about myself. I want you to see me and you talk about me. And, dude, it's just clearly raised by – I know Saquon was a boxer growing up.
Oh, well, I didn't know.
He was a boxer and was thinking that maybe the route.
That's a different kind of discipline there, man. But to your point and your kind of your original question, like Shipley was a guy who was 4 or 5-star recruit. Played as a freshman at Clemson, one of the best colleges in college football. And then you go and like, wow, there are people better than me. Like, and again, that just shows you when you get to that highest level, man, everybody there is a dude. Like everybody there was the best player from their hometown, from their city, from their college. And some men are just built differently. Our God-given talent is different than others. And I saw that in baseball. You saw some guys and you're just like,
oh, for sure. It's just different.
Yeah, I can't do what that person does. I just physically can't do it. But then there's a lot of guys who again show character, who work hard, who grind, who do all the right things and learn how to be a pro. And they're clearly already gifted, but they take it to the next level through that mental kind of maturity and understanding the game and concepts and things like that. So you have to be physically gifted, but there's other things you can do to grow your game.
And it's such a fine line because, like you said, you do have to. I'm sure you're humbled when you get in there, but you also still got to have belief in yourself. You still got to have confidence in your abilities.
Yeah.
And it's such a fine line between how do you maneuver that. Obviously, Saquon, and like you said, he's third string. It's not even like he's second string. And so he's not got carries all year. It'll be interesting to see how his career develops because I think, whenever you're not drafted in the first round, you're pretty short to free agency, 3 or 4 years. And so it'll be interesting to see if he continues to develop. And there's nothing wrong. The average career in the NFL is below 4 years, well below 4 years. And so if you can play till you're 27, 28, you've done better than most. And if you can play on special teams, it feels like, and here's what I've said for a long time, the NFL guys get this perception of like dumb, just super athletic guys. The guys who play for very long are not only super athletic, but they're super intelligent and really work hard. And they have a sense of, hey, what do I need to do to be a part of a team? It's really the rarity, I think, at least my perception is, of a guy who's just all about himself. You got to be hyper talented to have kind of those attitudes you see. And sometimes the whole NFL gets a reputation for it. But, man, it's awesome. Good for Will. And, hey, so I got a question for you. You obviously spoke highly of him. When you met him, had he established himself as a guy for Clemson yet? Or was he more of was it so early you had no idea yet?
He was a highly touted recruit, came in as expected to do a lot and kind of carry the load a little bit in the backfield. So there was a lot of expectations and pressures. But I talked to some of the coaches and the people around the program, and they said him and that freshman class were special. It was a really special group. And Clemson does a lot of things. I've heard Dabo. I've been able to sit down with Dabo with not just one-on-one, but with a few other people. And he said during his recruiting process, he says, we recruit good kids first, good family second, and good players third. So they're going after a certain type of young person, not even player, but young man, right? So they're doing it a little different. And when you walk around that facility, it feels really different. Like they promote family, they're promoting each other. It's very encouraging. Man, it's a different place down there, man. And I could see why, if you go down there on a recruiting trip, why you wouldn't want to leave.
Yeah.
So, but they did talk about him. Some of the people around the party was like, this young man, and the kind of the group that he came in. Phil Moffitt was part of that class, and a few others. But they're like, this is a special group, not only from a talent perspective, but from a character perspective.
When you first met him, just mature looking eyes. How do you communicate? I think that's the thing I'm big on with my son right now, trying to. Hey, the reality is people judge you on how you handshake, how much eye contact you make, how you respond. And so obviously that was the only thing you really got to see. You obviously had heard, and so that clearly had been
Well,
what's impressive to
and
you.
I met him too it was during the pandemic, and we were doing like an internship, and it was all digital. But he was the person who at the end of the day was still sending messages, asking questions, inquiring further, really, really trying to take it to the next level. Like he wanted to be the best at whatever he did, whether it was classroom, internship, football field, but really intentional. I mean, again, just really stood out amongst a lot of people that I met through that program and the kind of stuff I was doing there. So really cool.
Very
So
cool.
yeah, but so great to see him do some good things. The other thing we kind of discussed a little bit was, man, is Andy Reid like where does he rank now as one of, if not maybe not the greatest, but one of the greatest coaches of all time? Is he number 2 on the list? Is he 3, 4, 5? I mean,
I think it's so hard. It's almost. I love how Michael Jordan used to answer when they asked him, "Hey, who's the greatest of all time?" And he's like, you can't compare me to previous generations. And I kind of think it's the same way with Andy Reid. His really only contemporary is Bill Belichick. And so he's still got some more work to do. Obviously, Bill was in the league for a long time, but Andy Reid, I saw he had coached for 45 years in the NFL in some capacity.
those guys are just lifers, man.
I mean, I feel like it's addictive in some ways. Like he had tragically, his son had some challenges, and he's had some family that's had some challenges. So it is a huge sacrifice to be able to put in the amount of time that you need to be able to be successful. I think you see a lot of Hard Knocks and different things kind of behind the scenes. He's done commercials now with Patrick Mahomes, and
he's funny.
yeah, and you can tell, dude. He knows the good coaches. I feel like today have a way of connecting with a player, making them believe, and I think it's sincere, but connecting with the player, making them believe that they care about him, and it feels like he really does. But also demanding that respect without having to be like an authoritarian.
Yeah.
It is such a fine line.
You earn it. You earn that respect. If you come in saying you must respect me, nobody respects that. But if you do the right things, if you're successful, clearly. But if you're establishing that, the same thing with nobody should tell me I'm good. Like I just do the things and then we're good. Same thing with respect. Like you earn that over time. And he's clearly done that. Let me give you some numbers on Andy. So Andy Reid is the only coach in NFL history to win 100 games with 2 different franchises. When it comes to Super Bowl 59, he will be the leading, the coach with the most wins for both organizations.
I did know that.
So he has the most wins for the Eagles and the Chiefs. He's also taken the Chiefs and Eagles to 4 consecutive championship games. So the only coach to ever do that. Has 3 Super Bowl titles, has been to 5 Super Bowls, has 28 playoff wins, which is second only to Bill Belichick's 31. He has 19 home playoff wins, which is second to Belichick's 2021. This will be his 6th Super Bowl appearance, which is now second to Bill Belichick's 9. So Belichick has 6 Super Bowl wins, Chuck Noll has 4, and then Bill Walsh, Joe Gibbs, and Andy Reid all have 3. And so Reid's looking to tie Chuck Noll now for the 4th. And then early on, Andy Reid is from Los Angeles. Little baseball tie. We like tying in baseball. He was a vendor at Dodger Stadium growing up for a little bit. And then and one other thing, I saw this. He was, the punt, pass, and kick competition?
Oh, gosh. I've seen that video, dude. He looks like a giant out there among those kids.
He's 6'2", 220 pounds. It was on a Monday Night Football game. They were doing it at halftime in LA, and he was out there and was 6'2", 220. And the rest of the kids were just normal, like 11-year-olds. And he towered over him. So he was that kid. That's who.
Hey, where would you put him? And I'll add on here just a little bit. But where would you put him if you were starting a franchise? And let's say it's so hard because all these guys are at the end of their career. But like you had Bill Belichick and you had Andy Reid as your two options, and you get to choose who's going to be your next.
Well, so let's say
next coach
in their prime, right? I mean,
no, I'm not even going to go on their prime. Say you got 3 years left. Say Bill Belichick is back. They're both free agents, and they love Paul Stewart, so they're going to go whichever one you choose, you get them. Which one are you choosing?
Gosh, man, it's an interesting question because we saw Belichick with Brady, and then we saw him without Brady, right? Andy Reid is when he was in Philadelphia, he kind of had Donovan McNabb the whole time. And McNabb wasn't, he was an all-pro type quarterback. He was really, really good. And clearly in Kansas City, he's had, Mahomes most of the time. So it's really hard to separate those two. I think I would probably gel a little more with Andy Reid's style than Belichick's just personally. I'd probably go Reid, and maybe that's just in the moment I'm saying that, but
no, that was, as I was asking, that was actually, I would go Andy Reid too. He's done it with multiple quarterbacks. Alex Smith famously before he put in Patrick Mahomes, Donovan McNabb, and I remember Donovan being hurt a few times and him having to figure out ways to win with different quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Clearly, when you put him with a talent like Patrick Mahomes, he's really difficult to compete against. That's how he's in his third consecutive Super Bowl. But I really think if they're both free agents, magically, I would take Andy Reid. Now, I think statistically, you have to say that Belichick right now is still ahead of him, but it's not really. I think with Tom Brady going down to Tampa and figuring out a way to win one down there, to me, it does diminish some of what Belichick contributed. Yeah. But I would lean that Belichick is still number one on the list just because of more. But I would choose Andy Reid if I was starting a franchise and they were both free agents and I could pick either one.
And I went back and looked, and Andy Reid did have Mike Vick kind of towards the end of his time in Philadelphia, and
he got the best. There's a couple games. I can't remember the game. It was a Monday night game. Michael Vick went off, and he looked. I remember
the game you're talking about because the ball came out of Michael Vick's hands different, man. That thing was like
like a missile.
And then he would run like a 4.2 40.
Yes.
I used to love playing with Mike Vick on Madden. Like he was
a cheat code, dude.
Unstoppable.
Yeah, he was a cheat code. And Michael Vick, like you just said, the ball came out. He got the best out of Michael Vick after Michael Vick comes out of prison and he's kind of trying to change his life. And Andy Reid just figured out how to win with a bunch of different quarterbacks. And really, Belichick has figured out how to win with Tom Brady. So I don't know. I think I kind of answered it. A lot of people want to give all the credit for the longest time to Belichick. And, obviously both of them great coaches and great careers. And Belichick's doing well for himself. He's at North Carolina. He's got a 24-year-old girlfriend.
He'll be fine, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be fine.
So hey, let's get an update on our 50 and 15.
Yes.
We picked up another state.
Yes.
Nevada is on the board.
Yes.
Nevada. We're missing some big sky country. Montana and Wyoming we're still looking for. Washington.
Got to be a hunter out there that wants to hear about something.
Just sitting in a tree.
Hear a southern accent, maybe? I don't know. It feels like it's got to be somebody who's riding down a lonely road that thinks,
So Montana, no speed limit. I spent some time in Montana in the Pioneer League. No speed limits out there. So as you're just cruising down the road at 100 miles an hour, Wright podcast is something you probably need to be listening to.
No speed limits. What's the fastest you got out there?
I was on a bus. I was on a team bus. So
okay, you weren't based out there. I never actually
drove. No.
Yeah. What do you think the bus was going? Was he going like 100?
No, probably 75. I don't think. I don't know. I was sitting there trying to sleep on the bus. That was, man. If you haven't tried to sleep on a bus with 30 other dudes.
Oh, it's miserable, dude. Now, really quality earbuds. It's totally different now. Great games on your phone.
Yeah, we did not have. I had a Discman. I was kind of like the CD guy. I had the 100 disc thing, and people were always borrowing CDs and not giving them back, or giving them back all scratched up. Like, what were they doing with my CDs? Give them back normal, right?
Yeah.
So borrowing CD. I was the CD guy. The problem was my Discman. So for the younger generations out there listening, a Discman was what us. It was before, kind of in between a Walkman and an iPod, I guess. It played CDs.
Yeah.
They were, there was no recharge. You had to have batteries. So batteries were like gold on buses. But mine took 4 batteries. So it was, most of them took 2. So that
you must have really good speakers.
I had the bigs like Sony headphones.
Okay.
So I had nice headphones. And then, actually, one of the most clutch things I ever bought, I bought it at like the Great Outdoor Provision Company. And we were in Montana, actually. And it was like a sleeping mat. So it was like a kind of a thick, kind of dense foam pad, about an inch thick.
Okay. Did you lay it down on the floor?
Lay it on the floor. But I was kind of towards the back, so I would lay it kind of right in front of the bathroom, like where you walk through the bathroom. That's where
great.
Stuck, but that's where the engine was.
And
you
like that roar?
Well, I like the roar, and the warmth of the engine kind of kept me warm, because they would usually crank the air on those buses pretty high, so it kept me warm. I mean, it's kind of disgusting, but people were sleeping in the luggage racks. You just
you do whatever you can, especially some of those long trips, because you knew that if you didn't sleep, you weren't going to perform. But that's interesting. That's good stuff, dude. Good stuff. I would have loved to just have no speed limit and just see, like, what could the old truck get up to? Yeah.
Yeah. So let me run through the states we need. And if you're out there and can help us out. Montana, Washington, Wyoming, North and South Dakota, Iowa, New Mexico, Kentucky, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Delaware. So we're in the short rows. We're close, people. Let's make it happen. We got till next Saturday. Okay, we got a few days left. We're gonna make this happen. And Alaska, I forgot Alaska. We need Alaska. Yeah, I think that's a tricky one, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So, hey, thank you for listening. We appreciate it. Hey, go out and have a great day.
Out, go Pack.